This particular cyber attack has been considered probably the worst cyber attack that has been undertaken against Western countries since the WannaCry virus back in 2017. Now, the information behind what kind of cyber attack it is quite limited at the moment, but one could speculate it could be anything from ransomware all the way through to a destructive program which has been embedded now into their systems. But where the biggest concerns are regarding this attack is that it is something which has hit a critical infrastructure, and there could be many reasons for that. The attack itself is very devastating, and a state-sponsored attack has not been discounted. So it could very well be Russian-related assets, but as we know with Russia, they won't do it themselves. They'll quite often use proxies, but the same could be said for China and many other hostile states like Iran. When we look at a cyber attack, we always try to break it down and reverse engineer how and why this particular target would have been hit. And it will, of course, have a bearing as to what kind of malicious software or program has been embedded into a system, or whether it's the theft of critical information. But in this instance, we're looking at NATO-affiliated countries that have been directly affected the worst. And one of the connectors that could be the case is that obviously aviation, air traffic control is critical for not only the movement of passengers, whether they be business or tourists across Europe, but is also critical for the movement of military supplies, cargoes, resources, and supplies of various different nature. We could potentially connect this to the recent incursions by air and by Russian jet planes into Estonia, and quite recently, obviously, into Romania, and also drones into Poland. Now, we know that the potential reasoning behind those incursions were due to trying to probe aviation defenses to see how effective they were, how quick they were to respond and to react. But one of the connectors also to this most recent ransomware or cyber attack is down to possible connections to Collins Aerospace, who develop a lot of software for air traffic control systems and for aviation ports, and who have secured a very considerable deal from NATO. And their software is currently being utilized by many of the airports that have been hit. So one could draw a line that Collins Aerospace success in winning this contract for NATO could have some correlation to this cyber attack. But at the moment, until such time as the cyber attackers say exactly what their reasons are, and that may be unlikely, it is always going to be down to speculation. Well, here's a very good question that we need to ask right now, and that is how long these systems are going to be disrupted for. Now, a lot of this will come down to the resilience of each of those locations on either singular types of software or the gateways for those softwares being utilized across the client's network or the airport's network. So the key question right now that needs to be asked is if they cannot get their systems back up and running, this in some ways could be a positive negative. So it will tell us that they have not got sufficient enough resilience to be able to prepare themselves and protect themselves for this kind of attack if it is done in anger by a hostile state, if there isn't a hostile state behind this already.